breaking news, and trending talk. This is 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. KEEL, Shreveport. McCarty, breaking news and trending talk on 1017 FM and 710 KEEL.
Good morning, 6 o'clock. Robert and Erin, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Miss Erin on vacation this week. Greg Adams, local news in just a couple of seconds. Otherwise, what's new? I've been gone for a week. What did I miss? Matt will let me know if he remembers back that far. What's the latest with the arena? And are the mud bugs, let me rephrase, if the mud bugs are going to be gone, it's going to be another hurricane that chases them away. Plus, Fletcher in sports and traffic and weather all this hour coming up here on KEEL.
of information. KEEL News now.
Minden police are investigating the death of Tyrone Sumlin. Reports say Sumlin was found dead by his girlfriend outside of his vehicle on Quarles Street in Minden. Police report that he had suffered a fatal wound to the back of his head. At this time, they're unsure if Sumlin was shot or suffered blunt force trauma. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. Shreveport's mayor has spoken on the proposed sports complex. Matt Parker has that story.
Before the city of Shreveport can build a proposed $150 million plus sports complex on Cross Bayou, the city has a lot of hurdles to clear. They have to acquire land, funding, and possibly conduct an environmental cleanup. This has a lot of people wondering if the project is worth the money or the effort. Shreveport Mayor Ollie Tyler sat down with KTBS and said that sometimes Shreveport residents don't believe they can make great things happen. She went on to say it's her goal to make our city a great place to live, and if we don't grow and expand, we'll never be able to fund priorities like police and roads. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
A two-alarm fire Monday evening at the Villages of Williamsburg Apartments on Knight Street leaves several residents without a home. According to Shreveport Fire Department spokesman Scott Wolverton, the fire started around 7 p.m. and destroyed at least 8 units. More than 24 trucks from the fire department responded to battle the blaze. At this time, there have been no reported injuries. Based on the latest data from the Louisiana Workforce Commission, 1.9 million people are holding down a job across the state. That's an increase of 12,000 from this time last year. The State Workforce Commission says 155,000 people work in construction, which is an all-time high for the state of Louisiana. But LSU economist Dr. Lauren Scott anticipates a lag in employment by this time next year. Louisiana has the 5th highest obesity rate in the country, according to a report from Trust for America's Health. President and CEO John Auerbach says that it doesn't come as a big surprise. The Bayou State is more or less where it's been for the last few years in terms of obesity rate.
The obesity rate in the state is 35.5% of the adult population, and last year it was approximately the same level.
Louisiana is one of just 5 states with an obesity rate over 35%. The National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Irma is expected to affect the Caribbean islands within a couple of days as a major hurricane. The National Hurricane Center says it's too early to determine the direct impacts the hurricane might have on the continental U.S. Regardless, everyone in hurricane-prone areas should ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place, as we are now at the peak of hurricane season. The New Orleans Saints cut their roster down to the 53-man limit this weekend, but a few surprise cuts were included. Veteran running back Travarius Cadet and rookie preseason standout Adam Bighill were both cut from the roster. Cadet has contributed to the Saints' offense for the last 5 seasons, racking up 7 touchdowns as the team's third-down running back. Adam Bighill was a big surprise standout in the preseason, leading the Saints in tackles from the middle linebacker spot. Bighill is a 28-year-old rookie from Central Washington who spent the last 6 seasons playing for the BC Lions in the Canadian Football League. He was a 5-time CFL All-Star and Grey Cup champion. Bighill has since been signed to the Saints practice squad. AccuWeather forecast says partly sunny today with a shower possible this afternoon. High temperatures near 91. For 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Greg Adams.
Good morning, 9 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Oh, Monday.
No, wait.
Tuesday. Morning traffic. Here's Ruben.
I-49 South's got it clear all the way to Alexandria right now, but look out a little later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-220 eastbound near North Market due to construction. if you have anything to report to us. Accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
Good morning. It's 11 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, who is gone this weekend, back on Monday. In the meantime, Greg Adams is here, Matt Parker is here, and oh, by the way,
Yes.
when I said mud bugs, I meant love bugs. And I've been doing that for about a week or 10 days now, that every time I say, when I mean to say love bugs, like look at the swarm of love bugs, I say mud bugs and I apologize. Have you seen the movie Sully?
No, not yet.
Have you seen the movie Sully?
I have not.
Okay, so you know what it's about. It's basically, okay, Chesley Sullenberger was Sully Sullenberger, who was the captain and landed the airplane in the Hudson River, and nobody got hurt. A lot of people got cold. It was January.
I seem to remember a lot of people's feelings got hurt for some reason.
And in the movie, they replay the crash from a bunch of different viewpoints throughout the film. But only in the end do they run through the whole thing. Now, if you don't know, I'll give you a little history. What happened was it took off from LaGuardia in New York City, and in fact, it's early on in the movie. And this part of the movie happens 4 or 5 times. And the plane is lifting up, and I don't know what altitude they're at, maybe 6,000 feet, I don't remember. But the plane hits a flock of birds. And they all, every pilot in the world is scared of that because they get sucked into the engine and what they're afraid can happen, i.e. engine failure, is what happened to Sully and his airplane. And in the movie, pardon me, allergies, we'll get to that in a minute. In the movie, Sully, all the birds get sucked in and the plane like rocks, and you hear, and the birds are getting sucked into the engine, and he just very calmly turns to the co-pilot and says, Aaron Eckhart, by the way, and says, birds. I tell you that to tell you this. Yesterday, I'm on the Benton Road getting ready to go around, on the Benton Road exit off I-20, and I literally was thinking, well, there's not many love bugs flying around today. And I got to the very top of the Benton, where it loops around to come down on Old Minden Road. And the mud bugs hitting my car sounded like the birds hitting the plane in Sully. It was whack, 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 whack. And all I could think was, birds! No. Love bugs. But I thought I was going to crash. So, what did I miss last week?
The invasion of the love bugs. That's pretty much it. No, there was a lot of stuff going on. By the way, the mud bugs, love bugs conundrum there.
Yeah.
I think there's a promotion to be had there. Somebody from the mud bugs should get on that. There should be a I love my mud bugs.
I'm imagining the new logo now with the mud bug Two of them.
Two mud bugs.
Tail to tail.
That's what they need to do. They need to hook the two mascots' tails together.
And get Fun Shop 2 to sponsor. 2,
Okay.
3, 4. So what's the latest with the arena?
The Cross Bayou project. We spent a lot of time last week researching what was done in 1996 because McCarty with her cat-like reflexes.
Everybody she knows.
Well, but her ability to just recall, hey, we voted on that before. No matter what it is, hey, we voted on that before. And she was able to say, this vote's already happened. What did we vote on? What was the language? And it's actually very surprising how far you have to go to get that actual language. Like we had to call Baton Rouge multiple times. We had to have them send some information up to us. One of the things that we did find while we were researching was an audit that I believe was in 2010 that talked about the original Cross Bayou project from
1996. Okay, so in 1996, the Shreveport City Council was, let me see, that's pre-Hightower. Was Bo Williams the mayor then, or Hazel Beard?
I don't recall.
I think it was Bo, if I remember.
I think it was Bo Williams. Okay, so they allocated, I assume borrowed, $5 million to develop Cross Bayou.
And as a part of that, there were a lot of little ancillary pieces. This is pre-convention center as well.
So where did the $5 million go?
It went into just a handful of projects. There were just multiple projects, and this went all the way from...
So does anybody know? I mean, if you really hunt it down, the $5 million that was voted on by the city council 21 years ago, can you really track down where that $5 million went?
And that's the cool thing about this 2010 audit, is that it can show you piece by piece where all of this money was spent. Now, as of 2010, there was actually a chunk of money that had gone unspent. So a lot of it was used in all of these little itty-bitty projects, but I believe it was over half of it just sat. And the audit that was done came to the conclusion that the project was a failure at the time due to mismanagement and a lack of leadership. And this was commissioned in 2010 all the way through 96.
If there's $5 million lying around for Project X, in this case, the Cross Bayou project.
Well, but Project X became XA, XB, XC, XD,
My
XE.
point exactly is that for 21 years, this money has been allocated for the Cross Bayou area. But bit by bit, I guess, and obviously it's the legal thing, it's a legal thing to do, is that city councils or our city council can go in and snipe and pick and funding from another from other monies allocated for something else.
Sort of yes and sort of no. Everything that was sniped out of this all was in the Cross Bayou downtown area. I believe, actually, looking back on it, and I'll have to pull all of this here real quick, a portion of that was used to purchase land to build the convention center. So the convention center was already partially a part of the Cross Bayou project. Now, there was a whole separate convention center millage or project that came on top of this, but they were buying up land along Cross Bayou for this purpose based on this 96 millage, which, by the way, only passed by like 100 votes. It was like 50% to 50%. It was a handful of votes that passed this. This was the same year that there was a zoo that was on the...
I remember that. I had just moved back.
And that was voted down in the same year. But this Cross Bayou project was approved by just a handful of votes.
So is there any explanation from anyone, not that anybody in City Hall right now was there 20-something years ago, but from any of the particulars, any of those participants, why the Cross Bayou project, the project for which the $5 million was allocated, was borrowed, etc., why nothing has happened in plus 2 decades?
Well, when you look through the audit, it shows a handful of these projects that were done, including one of the last things that was done in 2009 was to use the money to commission a study on a dog park. And this is 2009.
So we've used the Cross Bayou money that was voted on in 1996. One of the things that was used, just to clarify in my own mind, one of the things that we've just, oh, look, we have a tree of money. We want to do a dog park study. Let's take from that. How we'll go to break, and I have lots more questions. But evidently, it is legal. Evidently, it's just fine to allocate money for one thing and use at least half of that money over the next 2 decades for something else. If you can somehow relate or tie it together, if it's within 1,000 miles, do we have has that come up? Has there been any explanation for that?
No, that's actually what we were searching for, is to try and find how you can tie this 96 to a Pelicans arena.
19 past 6 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Here's Ruben.
Everything's still running nice and smooth for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Benton Road just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
Good morning, 6:22, time for Tuesday morning sports. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. College football's big opening weekend ended with a bang on Labor Day night. The Tennessee Volunteers held on to knock off Georgia Tech 42-41 after rallying to even the game, send it to overtime. They held on in the second overtime when they stuffed the Yellow Jackets' two-point conversion. Tough news out of College Station for former Woodlawn Knight Donovan Wilson, who is the thumper in the Aggie secondary. He's going to miss significant time, perhaps the entire season, after undergoing foot surgery. The Aggies also are hit with the news that Nick Starkel, their starting quarterback, is out for the year with a broken ankle. In the big leagues yesterday, the Astros ran their winning streak to 5 games with a 6-2 takedown of Seattle on the road. Alex Bregman had a 2-run tie-breaking double in a 4-run seventh, and Dallas Keuchel, the former Razorback, went 7 2/3 innings, his longest outing since May 5th, to improve to 12-3. The Rangers remain relevant in the wild card race. Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor, and Nomar Mazara all homered. Andrew Kashner, he got the win. They're 5-2 in their last 7 games, 2 out in the wild card. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
25 past 6 o'clock. Robert and Erin. Miss Erin's on vacation for, till next Monday. Did I say 101.7 FM, 710 Keel? Did I say that yet?
No, but now you have.
And the Keel app is a free download from Office Furniture Source, and it's awesome. Greg Adams is here for a little bit. Matt Parker in the usual, the warm, the plush, the mat chair.
Mm-hmm. And it's mighty comfortable.
Where were we when we went to break? You were trying to explain to me about the monies allocated in 1996, the $3 million. I'm not sure, $5 million. I'm not sure what you can do with that much money. It doesn't seem to me you could do a lot. What was the original plan for Cross Bayou with that $5 million allocated 21 years ago to build a park, right?
Well, and that's kind of where that's where our research started. Was Erin was trying to remember exactly what it was voted on, and that's why we tried to track down the verbiage. And I'm trying to pull it up through all of my. See, this was one of those projects that involves about 36 different emails.
Was it this complicated? Serious question. Was it this insanely complicated? Was it the puzzle inside the conundrum inside the, from JFK? Was it all of that at the very beginning where all this money was allocated? I mean, did they have the intention to actually use this $5 million for Cross Bayou, or did they think, well, we'll have $5 million sitting around that we can take bits and pieces for our own personal city projects?
No, this was actually, it started as a Cross Bayou project. It seems like every mayor, every city council since...
If this starts, pardon me, if it goes back to Hazel Beard, the original planning, is that fair?
Well, no, it actually predates Hazel.
Which is early 90s.
Yes, this goes back to late 80s, early 90s, where... the talk began that everybody wanted to develop Cross Bayou.
We're going back to, pardon me again, Bill Hanna, even back to the Hanna administration. I mean, we're going back just like the first and second mayors post Clyde Fant almost.
Now, as we were looking through this, there's no particular, and maybe somebody can find it, maybe we were just overlooking it. There doesn't seem to be a specific catalyst as to where this became the idea. It seems like it was always just kind of an idea that everybody had. We want to do this here. We want to build this up, which, again, this all goes back to the convention center was the crown jewel idea of this.
But it seems to me that when the original Cross Bayou plan for Cross Bayou development, when it was the germ of this idea in let's say around 1990, maybe even earlier than that Cross Bayou would have been gravy on the potatoes of downtown. At that point, Shreveport still had a flourishing downtown, whereas now the purpose of the arena at Cross Bayou is, bluntly put, the cornerstone of downtown revitalization.
Yeah, that's essentially the idea behind this, as far as I can tell. So what I have here in front of me is actually the audit that I was referencing before. So here are all of the items. The project had spent $3.2 million of the original $5.
Of the original $5 million. So as of, say, this date, today, September, whatever, the 5th, the 6th, I've lost track, 5th. 3.2 of the 5 has been spent.
Well, this is March 31st of 2010.
Okay.
So this is some time ago, but here's where the money was spent. It was actually spent between two project areas, Cross Bayou and the Clyde Fant Parkway. So between 97 and 2000, a good chunk of the money was spent to acquire land and relocate the railroad. Then in 2002, land was purchased in the Riverview area. Then in 2006, Riverview sculptures were purchased. In 2006, there was also land appraisal paid for in the Cross Bayou area. In 2008, there was a sidewalk to a parkway built in the Cross Bayou area. In 2009, Clyde Fant area bike trail relocation, dog park study, fountain pump replace, and parkway extension study, all spent out of that money.
All this coming from the $5 million allocated, originally voted on, but not by much, for a park. It was a park at Cross Bayou, right?
And that's where the big issue on the it was 1996 Proposition 8, a bond for a riverfront. And we can actually roll through all of the specific language.
Now my head will explode.
Okay. But the idea was that they would do something. And even when you read through exactly what is going to be spent on, lands for public park, where did it go? The purpose of acquiring land and improving lands for a public park, title to which shall be in the public, and yeah, I guess actually but then they use the language, and this is what you had said. Politics can make anything pay for anything. And as you go through and look at some of the languages in how they're going to use this, riverfront park extension projects, I mean, if they build a park in front of a sports arena, could you twist it?
If you do anything, if you want to use the money, if you build it within the sight of water, even if it's in a glass, it's considered riverfront. 629, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Greg has local news up next. Right now, traffic time. Here's Ruben.
It is once again the best time of day to get where you're going because everything is all clear for your early morning drive to work or school. But look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-20 westbound near Spring and Market. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
Zachary Decker has been arrested by Bossier police in connection with the shooting death of Juan Reyes. Reyes was found by his roommate with a fatal gunshot wound to his chest early Sunday morning at the residence on Montgomery Street. According to police, they believe Decker allegedly shot Reyes over some sort of drug dispute. If convicted, Decker could face life in prison. Shreveport's mayor has commented on the proposed sports complex. Matt Parker has more details.
Before the city of Shreveport can build a proposed $150 million plus sports complex on Cross Bayou, the city has a lot of hurdles to clear. They have to acquire land, funding, and possibly conduct an environmental cleanup. This has a lot of people wondering if the project is worth the money or the effort. Shreveport Mayor Ollie Tyler sat down with KTBS and said that sometimes Shreveport residents don't believe they can make great things happen. She went on to say it's her goal to make our city a great place to live, and if we don't grow and expand, we'll never be able to fund priorities like police and roads. From 1017 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
Minden police are investigating the death of Tyrone Sumlin. Reports say Sumlin was found dead by his girlfriend outside of his vehicle on Quarles Street in Minden. Police say that he suffered a fatal wound to the back of his head. At this time, they're unsure if Sumlin was shot or suffered blunt force trauma. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. Louisiana has the 5th highest obesity rate in the country, according to a new report from Trust for America's Health. President and CEO John Auerbach says that it doesn't come as a big surprise that the Bayou State is more or less where it's been for the past few years in terms of obesity rate.
The obesity rate in the state is 35.5% of the adult population, and last year it was approximately the same level.
Louisiana is one of just 5 states with an obesity rate over 35%. Based on the latest data from the Louisiana Workforce Commission, 1.9 million people are holding down a job across the state. That's an increase of 12,000 from this time last year. The State Workforce Commission says 155,000 people work in construction, which is an all-time high for Louisiana. But LSU economist Dr. Lauren Scott anticipates a lag in employment next year. The National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Irma is expected to affect the Caribbean islands within a couple of days as a major hurricane. They say it's still too early to determine the direct impact the hurricane might have on the continental U.S. Hurricane Irma is currently a Category 4, which means the storm's sustained winds are at least 130 miles per hour. The Dallas Cowboys cut their roster down to the 53-man limit this weekend, including cutting a player who has ties to the Arklatex. The Cowboys will go with only 2 quarterbacks this year, Houghton's Dak Prescott as their starter and rookie Cooper Rush from Central Michigan as their backup. The team cut both projected backup Kellen Moore as well as former Louisiana Tech star and Jacksonville, Texas native Luke McCown. Insiders say there's still a possibility Moore could be re-signed to the team and serve as their backup QB, but the Cowboys will need to make roster space elsewhere to make that happen. AccuWeather forecast says partly sunny today with a shower or heavy thunderstorm this afternoon. High temperatures near 92. For 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Greg Adams.
Pretty short segment here. Don't go away. I know. I'm glad you're here. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin, Greg Adams and Matt Parker also in the studio. You're a huge baseball fan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. Allergies?
Yeah.
When did they start?
Probably Friday.
Mine started the weekend of GeekCon.
Okay.
And everybody I've spoken to who has out literally that Saturday afternoon. And everybody I've talked to said, yeah, it was, 2 weekends ago, GeekCon weekend. And it's waves. It'll be bad for a couple of days, then okay for a couple of days, and since the sun came back out, it's getting bad again, but it settles right in my throat.
Yeah, that's about where mine starts.
And it's just this itch and this cough that just doesn't go away.
Mine's migrating north, though.
Uh-oh.
Mine's getting into the sinuses, and my ear feels weird, but I never had allergies until
you
I moved
to
here.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Well, there are specific Michigan-based allergies, just most of them don't involve plants. In the 8 o'clock hour, Steve Parr and Louis Avallone are going to be here. And one of the things we're going to cover, specifically with Louis, is an op-ed he wrote for the Times. And it was a line that you had in your newscast. Hold on, I jotted it down. Da, 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 da. In fact, it was a quote from the mayor. Shreveport, correct me, I'm going to get as close as I can. Shreveport, a lot of Shreveporters believe Shreveport can't make great things happen.
Yeah, which I tend to agree with, honestly.
He said... Matt said this about 2 or 3 weeks ago when this whole arena story started to blow up. And I have heard 1,000 people repeat this in a variety of ways, in a variety of rephrasing, paraphrasing, etc. But you said it the best.
Did I?
And what Louis wrote...
I'm a genius.
What Louis wrote in his op-ed is basically what Miss Ollie said. What Mayor Tyler said is that Shreveport, we just been kicked around and whooped on and beat on and ignored for so long that maybe there's this attitude that is pervasive among Shreveporters that, if it's going to go wrong, it will. But Matt said something that is in disagreement with that most Shreveporters I've talked to agree with. Do you remember what it was?
No, but apparently I'm a genius.
It was brilliantly phrased. And this is what we'll discuss when Lewis and Steve get here a little bit later and throughout the morning. It's not that Shreveporters think that we can't do things. It's not that Shreveporters think that we are snake bit or unlucky. It's that Shreveporters going back, and this ties into the last half hour of the show, it's that Shreveporters don't believe, going back 2 decades or more, that the people in charge are really going to do it right.
Yeah, I tend to agree with both sides of that because elected officials are basically just concentrated us in all forms.
I mean, I explained to everybody, and I must have explained it 5 times this weekend, that, oh, by the way, somebody came up with the idea, the Elio Arena. I thought, irony of ironies. No, the number of times this weekend I explained that the Elio deal was not a Shreveport City deal. It was a Caddo Parish deal. But the point is, to most people, it's just one more thing. There's Elio, there's the Red River District, there's, we can go on and on. And is this going to be? That's why I did the riff on the radio a couple of weeks ago about Planet Aqua and the aquarium. When you delay 6 weeks, to you, there's probably a million reasons it's a good idea. To people around here, it's just like, oh, crap.
No, this community.
Here we go again.
And I don't know if it's because it's been habitual for so long. When we had Cedric and Ernie Roberson in, and they talked about going back 100 years to the way that Shreveport has just been. That is this 150 years worth of the same attitude, and every time that you think that things are going to get better, something gets worse. And then as far as elected officials go, again, they're just concentrated us. They're magnified us. The way that our attitudes and our philosophies are, and even if it's nationally, the turn of the country gets purified when it comes to the elected officials.
1017 FM, 710 Keel. Don't go away. Baseball talk up next. It'll be like a bar fight in here, I promise. Traffic update. Here's Ruben.
I-49 South's got to clear all the way to Alexandria right now, but look out a little later on this morning for some traffic delays on I-220 eastbound near North Market due to construction. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast will have sun this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 today, low 65 tonight. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
1017 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Erin off this week, back on Monday. Greg Adams in the room. Matt Parker. Quick, you first.
Yes.
Who is the Major League single-season home run? What is the Major League single-season home run record?
Are we talking about steroids or non-steroids?
In your opinion, what is the Major League single-season home run record?
I'd go non-steroid record.
In your opinion, what is the single-season? In your opinion, what is the single-season Major League home run record?
Who? Roger Maris?
61.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this really what we're gonna do?
Giancarlo Stanton from Miami Marlins hit his 53rd. What was it last night? And he is on the same pace to hit 61 home runs as Roger Maris was in 1961 when he broke Babe Ruth by a single record by a single home run.
But that's not the record. The record is 73 home runs in a season. That was 2001 by Barry Bonds.
Oh, come on. You can't give the record to a guy that was juiced up to the gills.
Here's why you can. Because every pitcher he faced that season was juiced to the gills as well. Every pitcher.
Not every pitcher. Mike Messina was clean.
That's why his ERA was 7.45.
Hey, he was getting old.
The only pitcher that I will believe from the 90s that wasn't using steroids is Greg Maddux.
Oh, you beat me to the name, kid.
That's the only one. Everyone else is under suspicion.
So you say Roger Maris 61.
I do.
You say Barry Bonds 73. But Roger Maris hit his 61 home runs in 162 games. Babe Ruth hit his in 154. So can't you make the case that he had more? You know what the Ford Frick asterisk is? Mm-hmm. You know what that is?
Yeah.
I assume you know also.
Yes.
Ford Frick was commissioner of baseball in the early to mid 1960s, through the 50s, in fact, replacing, as I recall, Happy Chandler, former Kentucky governor, rather. Can you name all the baseball commissioners? Can you go through?
No, not even close.
Okay, hold on a second. Judge Kennesaw Mountain Landis, Happy Chandler, Ford Frick. Oh gosh, William Eckert, Peter Uberoth, Bowie Kuhn, Fay Vincent, Bart Giamatti. This is not in order. Who's the guy now? Rob Manfred. And who did he replace? I forgot.
Bud Selig.
Okay. Was that all of them? Do you have them in front of you?
I don't have them in front of me. No, I was in awe.
Then I was 100%.
Hey,
well,
that's impressive nonetheless.
Yeah, I know.
I was in high school. The Ford Frick asterisk was the little asterisk that originally Major League Baseball put after Roger Maris' name when he hit 61 home runs in 1961, because he did it in a 162-game season. Babe Ruth had hit 60 in a 154-game season. So, as Stanton approaches the Roger Maris, Babe Ruth, whatever number he hits, he's at 53 right now. This whole argument about what is in fact the Major League single-season home run record is going to come up once again. You say Bonds at 73.
Yep.
You say Maris at 61.
Mm-hmm.
I can make the case for the Babe at 60. 649, 1017 FM, 710 Keel traffic right now. Here's Ruben.
Everything's still running nice and smooth for your early morning drive to work or school, but look out later on this morning for some traffic delays on Benton Road just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
The KEEL app is brought to you by Office Furniture Source. Download the app today. KEEL.
6:52, time for sports. Here's Tim.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. College football's big opening weekend ended with a bang on Labor Day night. The Tennessee Volunteers held on to knock off Georgia Tech 42-41 after rallying to even the game, send it to overtime. They held on in the second overtime when they stuffed the Yellow Jackets' two-point conversion. Tough news out of College Station for former Woodlawn Knight Donovan Wilson, who is the thumper in the Aggie secondary. He's going to miss significant time, perhaps the entire season, after undergoing foot surgery. The Aggies also were hit with the news that Nick Starkel, their starting quarterback, is out for the year with a broken ankle. In the big leagues yesterday, the Astros ran their winning streak to 5 games with a 6-2 takedown of Seattle on the road. Alex Bregman had a 2-run tie-breaking double in a 4-run seventh, and Dallas Keuchel, the former Razorback, went 7 2/3 innings, his longest outing since May 5th, to improve to 12-3. The Rangers remain relevant in the wild card race. Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor, and Nomar Mazara all homered. Andrew Kashner, he got the win. They're 5-2 in their last 7 games, 2 out in the wild card. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Good morning, 6:55. Robert and Erin, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. So home run leaders, single season. You know what? I said this to my brother a while back, and I am guilty of this crime, if you will, because I don't pay much attention. Mm-hmm. And maybe I've said it to you, too. I think I have. Right now, 2017 has been for the previous couple of years and will be for a while. Baseball is in a golden age, and no one cares.
Yeah, it's sad. Really, some of the best baseball in the history of baseball is being played right now.
And some of the best young players. Mike Trout. What's the kid for?
Judge, the Yankees?
Aaron Judge for the Yankees. I was thinking of the guy for Trout's with the Angels. Who's the guy for Chris Bryant with the Cubs is awesome. The guy with Washington who's been hurt.
Bryce Harper?
Yes.
And then you got Manny Machado with the Orioles. I mean, there are just some amazing players in Major League Baseball right now, and no one's watching.
And no one's paying a lick of attention. 656, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Time for Rush right now on Keel.
You probably never heard of the National Union of Healthcare Workers unless you're a member. Now, this so-called National Union has only 11,000 members, all of them in California. But they're making headlines as the first union to declare itself a sanctuary union. Now, as a sanctuary union, the NUHW says they can offer their illegal immigrant members protection from Trump's deportation dragnet, and from management retaliation, whatever that means. They have partnered with a San Francisco law firm to represent members and their relatives. They say their mission is also to educate members how to hinder federal agents from determining their immigration status. The union is also trying to convince the hospitals and clinics and nursing homes where their members work to help shelter illegal immigrants who are patients and caregivers. Now, by declaring themselves as a sanctuary union, the National Union of Healthcare Workers promises to provide a safe space to discuss the issue and make a difference. Well, goody. Deportations and arrests of illegal immigrants have already spiked dramatically since Trump took over. By making it known they are a sanctuary union, they can make a difference by making themselves a good place for ICE to look for the next round of deportees. Go ahead, guys. Make yourselves a target. We love it. There is a common assumption about identity theft. A lot of people believe it's just credit card fraud, but that is not the only form of identity theft. There are cases of information being sold on the dark web, or somebody getting an online payday loan in your name. Now, good thing there's LifeLock, folks. They use proprietary technology to detect and alert you on a wide range of identity threats. If you have a problem, a U.S.-based identity restoration specialist will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. But LifeLock is the best when it comes to online identity theft protection, and you should have it. Join now and get 10% off by using the promo code RUSH. Call 800-440-4833 or visit lifelock.com using the promo code RUSH. That's lifelock.com or call them 800-440-4833. Use my name and save 10% now.
Keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic at the intersection of Greenwood Road and Hearn Avenue, and we have some traffic delays on Airline Drive just north of Shed Road in Bossier City. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zaire.
Breaking news and trending talk. KEEL, 710 AM and K269GO, 1017 FM, Shreveport.
Country.
She was at a rally in California, one of several nationwide, supporting illegal immigrants brought here as kids, protected by an Obama program that President Trump plans to end. An announcement expected this morning. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
The White House plans to delay enforcement of the president's decision for 6 months, giving Congress
Good morning, 7 o'clock, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin. No, Erin's off this week. She'll be back next Monday. Greg Adams, local news, is next. Arena time. What's the deal? Is it going to be a vote of the people? That depends on who you ask. And speaking of different forecasts and ideas and directions, what's the deal with Hurricane Irma? And traffic and weather and Fletcher and sports all this hour, and it's here on Keel.
So what does that have to do with the tree?
Oh, boy. We believe local businesses should be packed with more local employees of the month and fewer Daves. We make it easy to post a job, and it's local, so you won't get spammed by faraway job seekers. ShreveportHelpWanted.com. Local jobs that work.
The power of information. Keel News now.
All eyes are on Category 4 Hurricane Irma right now, which forecasters say should move over portions of the Caribbean islands tonight and early tomorrow. They say there are increasing chances that it will impact the U.S. and hit Florida, but steer clear of Louisiana due to a cold front moving into our area. It's still too early to tell what Irma will actually do to the U.S. Zachary Decker has been arrested by Bossier police in connection with the shooting death of Juan Reyes. Reyes was found by his roommate with a fatal gunshot wound to his chest early Sunday morning at the residence on Montgomery Street. According to police, they believe Decker allegedly shot Reyes over some sort of drug dispute. If convicted, Decker could face life in prison. Shreveport's mayor comments on the proposed sports complex. Matt Parker has those details.
Before the city of Shreveport can build a proposed $150 million plus sports complex on Cross Bayou, the city has a lot of hurdles to clear. They have to acquire land, funding, and possibly conduct an environmental cleanup. This has a lot of people wondering if the project is worth the money or the effort. Shreveport Mayor Ollie Tyler sat down with KTBS and said that sometimes Shreveport residents don't believe they can make great things happen. She went on to say it's her goal to make our city a great place to live, and if we don't grow and expand, we'll never be able to fund priorities like police and roads. From 1017 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
Minden police are investigating the death of Tyrone Sumlin. Reports say Sumlin was found dead by his girlfriend outside of his vehicle on Quarles Street in Minden. Police report that he suffered a fatal wound to the back of his head. At this time, they're unsure if Sumlin was shot or suffered blunt force trauma. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. Louisiana has the 5th highest obesity rate in the country, according to a new report from Trust for America's Health. President and CEO John Auerbach says that it doesn't come as a big surprise because the Bayou State is more or less where it's been for the past few years in terms of obesity rate.
The obesity rate in the state is 35.5% of the adult population, and last year it was approximately the same level.
Louisiana is one of just 5 states in the country with an obesity rate over 35%. Based on the latest data from the Louisiana Workforce Commission, 1.9 million people are holding down a job across the state. That's an increase of 12,000 from this time last year. The State Workforce Commission says 155,000 people work in construction, which is an all-time high for the state. But LSU economist Dr. Lauren Scott anticipates a lag in employment next year. The New Orleans Saints have placed cornerback Delvin Breaux on injured reserve and brought back offensive tackle Bryce Harris, according to Monday's NFL transaction report. The Black and Gold are set to take on the Minnesota Vikings September 11th. LSU fans are still glowing about the impressive shutout victory over BYU, and today they're slated to hear from head coach Ed Orgeron, who will recap the game during lunch with Coach O. He'll also preview the Bayou Bengals' upcoming contest against Chattanooga in Death Valley Saturday night. AccuWeather forecast says partly sunny today, chance of a shower or heavy thunderstorm later today with a high temperature of 91. For 1017 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Greg Adams.
9 past 7 o'clock. It's 101.7 FM, 710 Keel traffic time. Tuesday already. Short week. Here's Ruben.
Keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic at the intersection of Greenwood Road and Hearn Avenue. And we have some traffic delays on Airline Drive just north of Shed Road in Bossier City. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. We'll have sun this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 today, low 65 tonight. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
Good morning. It's 11 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty. Greg Adams here. Erin's on vacation this week, by the way. Greg Adams here for a couple of seconds, which started out to be a couple of seconds an hour ago. Thanks for hanging out.
That's right.
And, of course, Matt Parker, who carries the show in Erin's absence. Pertaining to the Shreveport, are they going to sell, if this gets built, if the arena is actually constructed, are they going to sell naming rights? I would assume at some point they're going to attempt to do that. And as someone sickeningly put it this past weekend, yes, the Elio Arena is not a great idea. Although they are in negotiation. No, I swear I'm just kidding. Have you heard anything about that? I was out last week. I don't know what the latest developments are, other than this thing that sort of came to light a week ago on Friday, that Erin and you did this sort of investigative report that you and Erin and Matt did this investigative report that Matt, assisted somewhat by Erin and you, did this investigative report about it was a bond issue that was passed by the voters in 1996 that borrowed $5 million for the development of the Cross Bayou area. In the intervening 21 years, let's call it 20, let's round it off, nothing's happened. Not exactly. The city has used my first thought was nothing's happened, but that's not exactly true.
No, there's a handful of projects that have actually already been.
But the $5 million was allocated to build a park?
Yes and no. This is the language portion of politics, where language can mean something to one person and something completely different to the other.
Well, what I had said sort of tongue-in-cheek in the last hour, that if you've got $5 million lying around and it's not being used for what it was intended for, basically what I said was, in Shreveport, it's a waterfront project if you are in sight of a glass of water. Is that stretching it to say what they've used, bits and pieces of this, is just this $5 million in low-hanging fruit that our city has picked off bits and pieces of this $5 million for a variety of projects.
Yeah, and when an audit was done in 2010 on this, that was one of the major issues that was pointed out, is that some of the funding has been used for things outside of the Cross Bayou area, which is true. The Clyde-Fant Parkway area, the Riverview area, the Riverview Sculptures, bike trail, dog park, fountain pump replacement, and parkway extension study were all done out of this $5 million for the Cross Bayou
Pardon
project.
me just to say, I don't want anyone to misunderstand. I'm not saying that somebody was pilfering or stealing or pocketing this $5 million. What I'm saying is that you had a vote in 1996. We want to develop Cross Bayou, and we're going to borrow $5 million, and that's what we're going to use to for this development.
So between 96 and 2002, the only thing that was done with that pot of money was to buy land along Cross Bayou area. Now, the land that was purchased was actually used for the convention center. So when the $87 million convention center project came up, a portion of that money went back into the Cross Bayou Riverfront Park Extension Project Fund. So it essentially replenished the money that they spent to buy the land that was then used for the convention center.
So they took from A, put it into B, but then took money from B and put it back into A.
Yes. And then what ended up happening is, after you go a few administrations, a few city council members, you get a little ways down the road. After this vote was taken in 96, you move forward 6 years to 2002, where all of a sudden, hey, we got this money here and we want to do some stuff over on the Clyde-Fant Parkway. Let's grab some of that money. And I actually have the amounts that were used. So in 2006, they used $3,500 to do a land appraisal. In 2008, they used $147,000 for a sidewalk to Parkway. In 2009, $31,000 for a fountain pump. 2006, $9,580 for Riverview Sculptures. The Riverview land that was purchased back in 2002 was $366,000. In 2009, they did a bike trail relocation for $94,000, and then in 2009, they commissioned a dog park study for $8,500.
From this original $5 million allocated in 1996, there is around how much of this left? Say a little more than $2 million?
Yeah, roughly half is what appears to be left in here, $2.7 million.
The amount, excuse me, allergies, everybody in this building, I think, is fighting allergies. Probably not the asbestos walls.
I didn't say it.
Mesothelioma. I was a jingle singer in a previous life. So, does it seem to you that the amount that's going to be spent on this new project, if it passes, for the arena and the new retail outlet and the residential area, the new Cross Bayou money, that it seems to be increasing, that it now is said to be in excess of $150 million.
Well, I think actually...
Don't get me wrong. The city's going to put up 30. The company from Birmingham, Corporate Realty, is going to pump in about another 100 and
that's the X factor, which we can get to in a second. But I think the stumbling block that we don't want to get slowed down with the 96 vote is the money portion. I don't think the $2.7 million still laying around is actually what's going to be important, because what might be used here is the idea that this has already been voted on. So what this might be used for is the leverage to say we don't have to go to the public. We don't have to take a vote on whether or not to do the Cross Bayou project, because we already took a vote. And it was already approved by the voters of Shreveport by 98 votes in 1996. So it may not be a factor of what money is left or what money's been spent or what land's already been purchased.
Are you speculating, or do you know this for fact? I.e., well, here's what I was going to say. I was texting back and forth with, no names, an elected Caddo Parish official this weekend. And I'll pull the texts up off my phone in a couple of seconds. Texting this weekend with an elected Caddo Parish official. And in the course of our conversation, I had asked, I said, Are the people of Shreveport, if this continues to move on, a 5-2 vote a couple of weeks ago, and then they vote 1 week from today to take the next step forward on procuring the money? And my question was, and I'm still unclear, as so many people seem to be, whether or not the people of Shreveport will actually vote on a bond issue to borrow the $30 million. And what the elected Caddo Parish official speculated with me is, and maybe this is something I missed last week being on vacation, this is my question, and what this elected official said was, it depends on whether or not they can get private funding. If they can get private funding, i.e. they can get somebody to float the city $30 million, that's $1 million, then it doesn't have to go to a public vote. Is that correct? Do you know?
I have not heard that. I have not talked to an elected official that has said that. But going back through the 2010 audit, one of the recommendations in there actually kind of deals with this in a way. The recommendation was that management seek a bond attorney's guidance. Sorry, allergies. We recommend that the management seek the bond attorney's guidance regarding the expenditures outside of the Cross Bayou area for their compliance with bond covenants. So if the bond attorney can find a way to streamline this 96 vote into the existing bonds, the language and verbiage may already be in place. And I think that's what's important about the 96 vote, is that if there's a way, again, going all the way back to politics can make words say anything. If they can
Who you gonna believe, me or your own lion eyes?
If they can tie 1996's vote into this project, there could be even a legal argument that says this has already been voted on by the public. And you know, what money is there may be irrelevant outside of getting the funding, which comes back to what you said. If they can find a way, and maybe it's even going back to those original bonds from 96 and finding a way to get the money that direction, there might not have to be a public vote in any way.
Before we go to break, I want you to read a headline. We'll discuss this when we get back, and I want an update on how you think in the last 5 days if any of the city council votes have changed or what the 7 people on the council think. And I've got a couple of social media posts to read related to that, but I want you to read that headline before we go to break.
Oh, boy.
This is from the Times last week. Did you see this article?
Yes, I did.
Go ahead.
Shreveport faces $1 billion plus in critical needs.
Okay, now earlier in the segment I had said million.
Yep.
What Greg just said was billion. Going a little BTO on you there. 20 past 7 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update for Tuesday morning. Here's Ruben.
The intersection at Uri Drive and Southfield Road's dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on Barksdale Boulevard near Shady Grove Drive in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
It was Babe Ruth's baseball swing. 7:23 Sports Update. Here's Fletch.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. College football's big opening weekend ended with a bang on Labor Day night. The Tennessee Volunteers held on to knock off Georgia Tech 42-41 after rallying to even the game, send it to overtime. They held on in the second overtime when they stuffed the Yellow Jackets' two-point conversion. Tough news out of College Station for former Woodlawn Knight Donovan Wilson, who is the thumper in the Aggie secondary. He's going to miss significant time, perhaps the entire season, after undergoing foot surgery. The Aggies also were hit with the news that Nick Starkel, their starting quarterback, is out for the year with a broken ankle. In the big leagues yesterday, the Astros ran their winning streak to 5 games with a 6-2 takedown of Seattle on the road. Alex Bregman had a 2-run tie-breaking double in a 4-run seventh, and Dallas Keuchel, the former Razorback, went 7 2/3 innings, his longest outing since May 5th, to improve to 12-3. The Rangers remain relevant in the wild card race. Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor, and Nomar Mazara all homered. Andrew Kashner, he got the win. They're 5-2 in their last 7 games, 2 out in the wild card. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Twenty-six past 7 o'clock, 1017 FM 710 KEEL, the KEEL app presented by Office Furniture Source, an awesome download. Erin's on vacation this week. Robert J. right here, Greg Adams in the room, and Matt Parker taking all the credit he can pilfer.
Yep.
In the last 5 or 6 or 7 days in my absence, given the fact that the original city council vote was 5-2 to move forward with the study of borrowing $30 million for a new arena downtown, does it seem to you that any of the city council people have changed their stance, at least publicly? The reason I'm asking is because so many of them voted yay, we think this is a great idea. And yet at the same time, publicly we're saying we don't think it's that good an idea, or explaining they were hedging. It was, let me use Stephanie Lynch as an example. Ms. Lynch, to the best of your memory.
Yes.
You're young. You still have brain cells that work.
Uh-huh.
When we interviewed City Councilwoman Stephanie Lynch, she voted yes.
In fact, her direct quote from the very first question out the gate, you asked, was this a firm yes? Was it? And her direct quote was, a yes for me means yes. That's what I'm for.
But correct me if I'm wrong. After saying basically what Matt said, I mean, we can go pull it up. We may play a little bit of it later. After saying basically, when I vote yes, that means yes.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Then she did 5 minutes why it was a bad idea.
5 minutes? She did like 10 minutes on why it was terrible and why we should not do this and how nobody wants it.
Somebody sent me over the weekend a freeze frame of a Facebook post of a response from Stephanie Lynch, I'm assuming because she refers to James. And I'm assuming in this case she means James Fleury. I don't know for sure. Now, Fleury along with Willie Bradford, was one of the two no votes on Miss Ollie's measure a couple of weeks ago to move forward to study the issue. And as she is prone to do, Miss Stephanie can be a little colorful in her language. And she says, evidently someone had been critical about the idea of the arena on Mr. Fleury's page, which puzzles me because he voted against it. Stephanie voted yes. But she says, James, don't listen to this. How do I phrase this?
Blankety blank?
Ass.
Female dog donkey.
Well said. I'm on the council, and I can assure you that the overwhelming, now this is what I find very interesting. Based on what, remember now, I'm going to read this to you, but I want you to think about what Matt just said. I'm on the council and can assure you that the overwhelming majority of those opposing this is the white community. But Stephanie Lynch's constituents are predominantly African American. And she told us, am I wrong, that 95% of the people that she's spoken to in her district think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
She writes, I'm on the council and can assure you that the overwhelming majority of those opposing this is the white community. Then she goes on, we got to go to break. This is just getting good. Stay where you are. 7:29, more coming up. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Allergies, cough twice. Here's Ruben.
Keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic on Midway Avenue and Mansfield Road. And we have some traffic delays on Airline Drive and Barksdale Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
Are you skeptical about anything in this proposal?
Well, I'm waiting to get more feedback from the citizens because they are the ones.
She is here. Good morning, Miss Stephanie. How are you today?
Good morning.
You voted yes yesterday. You voted on the new sports arena, or was it sort of a let's?
Well, I mean, my yes is yes and my no is no.
Information. KEEL News now.
Zachary Decker has been arrested by Bossier police in connection with the shooting death of Juan Reyes. Reyes was found by his roommate with a fatal gunshot wound to his chest early Sunday morning at the residence on Montgomery Street. According to police, they believe Decker allegedly shot Reyes over some sort of drug dispute. If convicted, Decker could face life in prison. Shreveport's mayor has commented on the proposed sports complex. Matt Parker has more details.
Before the city of Shreveport can build a proposed $150 million plus sports complex on Cross Bayou, the city has a lot of hurdles to clear. They have to acquire land, funding, and possibly conduct an environmental cleanup. This has a lot of people wondering if the project is worth the money or the effort. Shreveport Mayor Ollie Tyler sat down with KTBS and said that sometimes Shreveport residents don't believe they can make great things happen. She went on to say it's her goal to make our city a great place to live, and if we don't grow and expand, we'll never be able to fund priorities like police and roads. From 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Matt Parker.
Minden police are investigating the death of Tyrone Sumlin. Reports say Sumlin was found dead by his girlfriend outside of his vehicle on Quarles Street in Minden. Police say that he suffered a fatal wound to the back of his head. At this time, they're unsure if Sumlin was shot or suffered blunt force trauma. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. Louisiana has the 5th highest obesity rate in the country, according to a new report from Trust for America's Health. President and CEO John Auerbach says that it doesn't come as a big surprise that the Bayou State is more or less where it's been for the past few years in terms of obesity rate.
The obesity rate in the state is 35.6%. 0.5% of the adult population, and last year it was approximately the same level.
Louisiana is one of just 5 states with an obesity rate over 35%. Based on the latest data from the Louisiana Workforce Commission, 1.9 million people are holding down a job across the state. That's an increase of 12,000 from this time last year. The State Workforce Commission says 155,000 people work in construction, which is an all-time high for Louisiana. But LSU economist Dr. Lauren Scott anticipates a lag in employment next year. The National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Irma is expected to affect the Caribbean islands within a couple of days as a major hurricane. They say it's still too early to determine the direct impact the hurricane might have on the continental U.S. Hurricane Irma is currently a Category 4, which means the storm's sustained winds are at least 130 miles per hour. The Dallas Cowboys cut their roster down to the 53-man limit this weekend, including cutting a player who has ties to the Arklatex. The Cowboys will go with only 2 quarterbacks this year, Houghton's Dak Prescott as their starter and rookie Cooper Rush from Central Michigan as their backup. The team cut both projected backup Kellen Moore as well as former Louisiana Tech star and Jacksonville, Texas native Luke McCown. Insiders say there's still a possibility Moore could be re-signed to the team and serve as their backup QB, but the Cowboys will need to make roster space elsewhere to make that happen. AccuWeather forecast says partly sunny today with a shower or heavy thunderstorm this afternoon. High temperatures near 92. For 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Greg Adams.
Well, I mean, my yes is yes and my no is. Well, I mean, my yes is yes and my no is no. So it was an affirmative vote.
Are you skeptical about anything in this proposal at this point, Stephanie?
Well, I'm waiting to get more feedback from the citizens because they are the ones who will have to fill those seats. And right now, what I'm hearing is, hell no, we won't go. They're not saying right now that they're willing to support this.
So do you think yesterday?
Right now that they're willing to support this.
So do you think yesterday?
Well, let me tell you.
So do you think yesterday, do you think that yesterday the mayor made a good first step in on the list of great one-hit wonders? I think the New Radicals qualify. Hey, you got the dreamer's disease.
Well, yeah, that's not bad for a 90s. 90s one-hit wonder. That was not bad.
Hold on a second. 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Robert and Erin. Erin on vacation until next Monday. Greg Adams, Matt Parker in the studio. I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, and maybe you guys aren't old enough but the era of music that I just really loved beyond. Here's the question. What era of music, other than what you listened to in high school, do you like the most?
It's probably 90s music.
Like, give me an example.
Well, there's
like Nirvana, like grunge stuff.
Yeah, grunge and as you get basically like 90s rock, because it was such a diverse. You had the post grunge stuff from bands like Bush. And then you had the later 90s stuff that was kind of an amalgamation of all of it. It basically just, so many things were rock in the 90s that wouldn't be considered rock today.
See, I've said to him a million times, and I've said to my friends this who are about my age, maybe even over the age of 45 or 50, that most people 50 years of age and older don't understand, don't appreciate because of their age, how Nirvana changed everything.
Absolutely. If the people that were in a room, and I guess put yourself in like a radio programmer's, which it's not normal for a lot of people. It's more normal for us. But if you were a rock programmer and you were predominantly playing Bon Jovi and Motley Crue and this hair metal stuff, and all of a sudden you get served this song from a band called Nirvana, and you put it on, and everything's distorted, and it's loud, and it sounds scary, but it's good. And like today, because a lot of people grew up with Nirvana, and Nirvana's just been in popular culture for a long enough period of time, it doesn't seem threatening. But the threat level of something like Nirvana compared to what was popular at the time in the rock world, above and beyond.
You? Outside of what you listened to when you were in high school, what's your favorite era of music?
I, too, love the 90s, but not 90s rock. I love just the weird 90s pop songs that were out, like all the one-hit wonders, like the New Radicals and, what was it, Semisonic and
Semisonic
and the Cardigans and all that just
Cardigans.
Random weird stuff that came out in the 90s.
See, I was going to be a wise guy and say the era of music that I liked the most, other than what I listened to in high school, was the mid-18th century.
Mozart.
But I'm not. I love mid to late 80s pop music. Tears for Fears, Mr. Howard Jones. God, I love Howard Jones. Ice House, all that sort of, you're looking at me and rolling your eyes. Screw both of you clowns.
No, I started to appreciate that once I played Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
739, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Yeah, that was the first dance at your wedding. Traffic update, here's Ruben.
Keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic on Midway Avenue and Mansfield Road. And we have some traffic delays on Airline Drive and Barksdale Boulevard in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
And over the next few weeks, your constituents that...
I have to commend her and her team. They put together an excellent presentation. In fact, I got one email from not one of my constituents, but from someone that said, yesterday, the day before Monday, they were against it, but after seeing the presentation, they said they were for it.
Over the next few weeks, do you think that yesterday...
Right now, what I'm hearing is, hell no, we won't go. They're not saying right now that they're willing to support this.
So do you think yesterday...
Willing to support this.
So do you think yesterday, do you think...
They're not saying right now that they're willing to support this.
Good morning, 741. Robert J. Wright, Erin McCarty. It's 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Erin off for the week. Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. Matt Parker, Greg Adams in the room. So you found a little segment here of Stephanie Lynch.
I did.
Okay, in the last 5 days, because I was off last week, and then we had a long weekend, so I have, man, I'm telling you, sometimes you go on vacation, and you come back, and it's like, was I ever on vacation? And then sometimes you come back and you feel like it's the first radio show you've ever done. And that's how I felt. I felt like I have not been in this room for 100 years. And that one extra holiday just makes the weekend seem so long. So in the 900 days I was gone, did any of the city council people, it was 5-2, the original vote to move forward to study. I'm sorry, my finger keeps catching on the cord on the microphone. Let me see if I can move it. I apologize. The 5-2 vote, the Shreveport City Council voting to move forward on the mayor's $30 million, let's borrow $30 million for the arena proposal. Did any of them change that? Because the feeling that I had originally was there were a lot of them that said, yeah, let's take a look. But then they were kind of hedging the bets, i.e., I voted for it, but just to study it, not that I'm really for necessarily building the arena.
Essentially, a John McCain healthcare repeal type vote.
Oh, brother.
Well, okay, so I don't personally know if anyone has changed their opinion.
I mean, for example, Oliver Jenkins voted yes. He was one of the 5 in the 5-2. Let's study this. But then Oliver on his Facebook page wrote a 250 or 300 word manifesto. Okay, maybe I aggrandized just a bit, but he wrote explaining, look, here's what I meant. Evidently the feedback the feedback was so negative from his constituents, he felt compelled to explain that this was just a move to study the situation.
Right, and I think that's where corporate realty comes in. I think there was a lot that was done in the first city council meeting when they actually got to the podium and said, here's what we want to bring to your city. But as far as the council votes go, this is my gut feeling. They look at this as it may not be popular, but at this point, something needs to be done. And that may be, like you said last hour, where you said at this point it has turned from an enhancement to the downtown area to now the only thing that we can do in the downtown area. This is the last best chance to recreate a downtown Shreveport.
And honestly, as Miss Ollie said, if somebody comes to you with $125 or $130 million and says, I want to invest in your city, you'd be kind of silly not to look at it.
Yeah, so I think that a lot of those yes votes, if anything, you might see an additional yes vote, only because it's going to be a bite the bullet type vote. If you vote no, are you just throwing your hands up in the air and saying, all right, Shreveport sunk, we've got $1 billion in infrastructure issues, we have no way to create new revenue, we're just going to start cutting. We're just going to start eliminating things. Now, is that going to be the direction that you want to go as a city, or are you going to try one more time? What happens as a city when you stop trying? Now, I'm from Michigan, and a lot of people want to call it Little Detroit or the next Detroit. But Detroit never stopped trying, even when it was the worst it's ever been.
But let's go back to, pardon me again, let's go back to what Matt had said. And I found this to be the case from maybe 50 people that I spoke to, maybe more than that, in the week or so that I was off. And what Matt said, there's some legitimacy to this, and it goes back 20 or 25 years or more. It's not that Shreveporters are giving up. It's not that Shreveporters think, it's not that this may not, hell, you said it, you phrase it.
Well, what I said is the city of Shreveport, their leaders have a bad habit of making deals they don't know how to work, and they may not be up to managing or pulling off such a deal.
And this goes back to the Cross Bayou, the initial Cross Bayou borrowing of money some 21 years ago. And I think what Matt's saying is, it's not that we think this is necessarily a bad deal. We just don't know if we can count on, this is collectively now, not necessarily targeting or speaking ill of the Tyler administration. Just based on our history, we're not sure the city of Shreveport is the people we want running this.
Well, and no, because it's not specifically the Tyler administration. And this Cross Bayou project maybe is the best example of what you guys are talking about, where you can go back through multiple administrations, and you can go back through, if you want to even take it all the way down to political parties, you can go back to multiple political parties now and say, look at the disconnect between the idea and where we stand today. And I think maybe that's one of the issues that Shreveport faces, and actually Louisiana as a whole, because the state budget doesn't run too well either. It seems like from administration to administration, elected official to elected official, there doesn't seem to be a common thread. There doesn't seem to be a passing of the torch. It's almost, instead of handing the... If this was a relay race, instead of putting the baton in the next person's hand, it's like they're whipping it at them from 10 feet away and going, good luck.
Okay, this weekend on social media, City Councilwoman Stephanie Lynch. I'm on the council and can assure you that the overwhelming majority of those opposing this, i.e. the arena vote, I'm on the council and can assure you the overwhelming majority of those opposing this is the white community. Now, wait a second. Isn't that just the opposite of what she told us?
It is. In fact, I got this little 30-second piece here where she says, hey, my vote is a yes, but nobody wants it.
Well, I mean, my yes is yes and my no is no. So it was an affirmative vote.
Are you skeptical about anything in this proposal at this point, Stephanie?
Well, I'm waiting to get more feedback from the citizens because they are the ones who will have to fill those seats. And right now, what I'm hearing is, hell no, we won't go. They're not saying right now that they're willing to support this.
So, well, here, I'll just read again what she said. Stephanie Lynch, I'm on the council and can assure, after voting yes, I'm on the council and can assure you that the overwhelming majority of those opposing this is the white community. Now, later in the interview, she does. Am I wrong here when I say she did another 3 or 4 or 5 minutes telling us why she didn't think it was that good an idea?
Oh, yeah, this was just a little piece, a little snippet.
Let me continue with her social media post after saying the overwhelming majority of people who oppose this idea are the white folks. This will not create, this is Stephanie Lynch, this will not create thousands of jobs. In fact, it will be less than 100, including part-timers and Pelican staff from New Orleans who will work up here, plus those who will still work out of New Orleans. Just don't go along. She's referring now to a comment made on James Fleury's page. Don't go along with this racist, the criticism of Fleury, trying to blame and call out my folks. 749, it's 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Time for traffic. Hit it.
Looking right now at some slow-moving traffic on Juella Avenue and West 70th Street, and we have some traffic delays on Shed Road near Swan Lake Road in Bossier City. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Before 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Time for sports. Here's Timmy.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. College football's big opening weekend ended with a bang on Labor Day night. The Tennessee Volunteers held on to knock off Georgia Tech 42-41 after rallying to even the game, send it to overtime. They held on in the second overtime when they stuffed the Yellow Jackets' two-point conversion. Tough news out of College Station for former Woodlawn Knight Donovan Wilson, who is the thumper in the Aggie secondary. He's going to miss significant time, perhaps the entire season, after undergoing foot surgery. The Aggies also were hit with the news that Nick Starkel, their starting quarterback, is out for the year with a broken ankle. In the big leagues yesterday, the Astros ran their winning streak to 5 games with a 6-2 takedown of Seattle on the road. Alex Bregman had a 2-run tie-breaking double in a 4-run seventh, and Dallas Keuchel, the former Razorback, went 7 2/3 innings, his longest outing since May 5th, to improve to 12-3. The Rangers remain relevant in the wild card race. Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor, and Nomar Mazara all homered. Andrew Kashner, he got the win. They're 5-2 in their last 7 games, 2 out in the wild card. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
It is 7:55, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel, Robert and Erin. Okay, so based on the social media post from City Councilwoman Stephanie Lynch saying that the majority of people who are against the arena are white folks. And then she goes on to say that it's not going to create many jobs, and she talked with us about 5 minutes that she didn't think it was that good an idea. I mean, we can run the interview anytime we want, or if anybody says she didn't say it, we just played a little bit of it in the last segment. So if Ms. Lynch is saying that the majority of folks who are against, despite the fact she said that her own constituents are telling her that it's a bad idea, like 95%.
Hell no, we won't go is the exact phrasing she said on her citizens and constituents.
So if she is saying that the majority of folks who oppose the arena are white folks, is she saying, in effect, that the white folks got it right? Because she seems to be agreeing with them after voting yes to study the situation, after saying, what was her line? My yes means yes. When I say yes, I mean yes. I mean, it just seems to be, I am confused by it all. By not only Ms. Lynch, but a number of city council people voting yay, let's explore this, let's look at this, and then seemingly going out of their way, putting extra effort into explaining their yes vote. Well, just because I voted yes to explore doesn't mean that I think it's a good idea. And I would assume that's based on getting so much negative feedback from their constituents.
Well, in that same interview with Miss Stephanie, she said this is a done deal and it's going to be like a 5-2 vote or whatever.
In 30 seconds, what have you heard about that? She did say to us, it's all over but the building. She says it's a done deal. It's going to pass the city council.
I don't think it was just her. I think Brian Crawford's statements last week, too, as far as this project is going to move forward with or without the Pelicans. I think that's ultimately what we have to be ready for.
With
this is
or
going to
without
happen.
the
With
Pelicans.
or without the Pelicans, Cross Bayou will be developed, and we talked about it a little bit off the air last week. I think I know why, too.
757, 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Traffic and weather updates just ahead right now. Here comes Sean Hannity.
The truth and nothing but. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
And of course, the media is wrong again and again and again. And they laughed and they ridiculed and they mocked the notion, the idea that Trump could be the president. We've had 11 months of pure, unadulterated media lying to you. NBC, ABC, CBS, New York Times, Washington Post, and then I guess the leader of all this is CNN. It is mind-numbing to watch this credibility crisis as if it's something new. It's not new. We've been telling you about the fake news networks now forever and warning you that journalism is dead and trying to be the antidote to what it is that these people do. Trying to give you every day on radio news, information that you won't find anywhere else.
Keeping you on the straight path. Later today, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
When it comes to cooking meals, drying clothes, heating water, and my home, nothing beats natural gas from CenterPoint Energy. It's my most affordable energy option. It costs less to use than electricity, propane, and heating oil. So if you already have natural gas, keep it. And if you're replacing an appliance, choose it.
At CenterPoint Energy, we're investing in infrastructure to help bring comfort and savings to you. Visit centerpointenergy.com/natural gas benefits to learn more. CenterPoint Energy. Always there.
The Keel VIP Club, brought to you by Titan Factory Direct Housing. Win great prizes just by logging on to KEELnews.com.
The intersection at Line Avenue and Kings Highway is dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on Airline Drive just north of I-220 in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
Breaking news and trending talk. This is 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. KEEL, Shreveport.
Good morning, 8:03. Robert and Erin, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL. Miss Erin is on vacation, back on Monday. In the meantime, news, Greg Adams just a couple of seconds away, and in the 8 o'clock hour from Conservative Ground, the new Conservative Ground show. Well, started last night, but it will be live and in this very studio this evening. Stephen Parr and Louis Avalone. And we've got lots of things to talk about, plus Fletcher and sports and traffic and weather, and it's all this hour coming up on KEEL.
Of information. KEEL News now.
Minden police are investigating the death of Tyrone Sumlin. Reports say Sumlin was found dead by his girlfriend outside of his vehicle on Quarles Street in Minden. Police report that he had suffered a fatal wound to the back of his head. At this time, they're unsure if Sumlin was shot or suffered blunt force trauma. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. Shreveport's mayor has spoken on the proposed sports complex. Matt Parker has that story.
Before the city of Shreveport can build a proposed $150 million plus sports complex on Cross Bayou, the city has a lot of hurdles to clear. They have to acquire land, funding, and possibly conduct an environmental cleanup. This has a lot of people wondering if the project is worth the money or the effort. Shreveport Mayor Ollie Tyler sat down with KTBS and said that sometimes Shreveport residents don't believe they can make great things happen. She went on to say it's her goal to make our city a great place to live, and if we don't grow and expand, we'll never be able to fund priorities like police and roads. From 1017 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
A two-alarm fire Monday evening at the Villages of Williamsburg Apartments on Knight Street leaves several residents without a home. According to Shreveport Fire Department spokesman Scott Wolverton, the fire started around 7 p.m. and destroyed at least 8 units. More than 24 trucks from the fire department responded to battle the blaze. At this time, there have been no reported injuries. Based on the latest data from the Louisiana Workforce Commission, 1.9 million people are holding down a job across the state. That's an increase of 12,000 from this time last year. The State Workforce Commission says 155,000 people work in construction, which is an all-time high for the state of Louisiana. But LSU economist Dr. Lauren Scott anticipates a lag in employment by this time next year. Louisiana has the 5th highest obesity rate in the country, according to a report from Trust for America's Health. President and CEO John Auerbach says that it doesn't come as a big surprise. The Bayou State is more or less where it's been for the last few years in terms of obesity rate.
The obesity rate in the state is 35.5% of the adult population, and last year it was approximately the same level.
Louisiana is one of just 5 states with an obesity rate over 35%. The National Hurricane Center says Hurricane Irma is expected to affect the Caribbean islands within a couple of days as a major hurricane. The National Hurricane Center says it's too early to determine the direct impacts the hurricane might have on the continental U.S. Regardless, everyone in hurricane-prone areas should ensure that they have their hurricane plan in place, as we are now at the peak of hurricane season. The New Orleans Saints cut their roster down to the 53-man limit this weekend, but a few surprise cuts were included. Veteran running back Travarius Cadet and rookie preseason standout Adam Bighill were both cut from the roster. Cadet has contributed to the Saints' offense for the last 5 seasons, racking up 7 touchdowns as the team's third-down running back. Adam Bighill was a big surprise standout in the preseason, leading the Saints in tackles from the middle linebacker spot. Bighill is a 28-year-old rookie from Central Washington who spent the last 6 seasons playing for the BC Lions in the Canadian Football League. He was a 5-time CFL All-Star and Grey Cup champion. Bighill has since been signed to the Saints practice squad. AccuWeather forecast says partly sunny today with a shower possible this afternoon. High temperatures near 91. For 101.7 FM and 710 Keel, I'm Greg Adams.
Past 8, it's 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Traffic update, Ruben, right here.
Keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. And we're still looking at some backed-up traffic on I-20 westbound near Spring and Market. It's backed up past Airline Drive right now. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
That's not like a prayer. We're not going to say grace before. That's it. We'll say grace before the radio show. Bless us, O Lord. 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty in studio for a while for this hour. Louis Avallone and Stephen Parr. Or if you're Stephen Parr, it's Stephen Parr and Louis Avallone from, okay, I'm so confused. It's, your website is conservativeground.org.
That's right.
And it's an awesome website. Even you, especially you, my friend.
What?
I've told you this before.
I know. I'm begging for compliments.
The leather jacket videos are awesome. Like you're this rugged sort of cowboy individualist. John Wayne meets Sam Shepard in The Right Stuff.
Wow.
I know. John Wayne meets Chuck Yeager.
That jacket only cost me $17.
Well, on video, pleather and leather, one can't really tell.
Right. Yeah.
But you do these great videos, and I'm being totally serious, like you had TV experience.
Yeah.
But it's about 95 degrees, and you're filming them out in a field.
Yeah, no.
With a leather jacket on, and they would just, like between takes, they would come out and they would dab him dry. What I was going to say was, your website is conservativeground.org.
Yes.
But it started last night, but tonight is the big sort of grand opening. Let's think of last night as your soft opening.
That's right.
And the name of the show is American Ground.
That's right.
If anybody doesn't know, this evening, weeknights, 6 till 7 here on Keel. Tell me about it. What's the goal? What's the plan? What's the project?
Well, this show is, Robert, this show is for anyone who believes there is greatness within each of us.
that we can do great things. This country can be great again if we can just focus long enough on what's working and how to do more of that instead of focusing only on what's broken and how to fix it. Now, for too many Americans, we know America feels broken. They feel helpless to do anything about it. It's been said that the pessimist complains about the wind. The optimist expects it to change. The leader adjusts the sails. This show is for those who want to adjust the sails.
Damn, son. Do you think America is as divided as the media, specifically rather the left-leaning media, the MSM, mainstream media, maintains that it is? Or do you think that America is more along the lines of the Houston response that we saw over the last 2 weeks?
Harvey quite clearly demonstrated that the idea that America is absolutely divided is wrong. Harvey showed that Americans will come together, that we aren't as divided as the media wants us to be. Now, the reason, I'm not saying that the media is trying to change America. I'm saying the media is trying to get ratings. Mm-hmm. And the way that they get ratings is by creating controversy. And by creating these and you pick the lowest hanging fruit. Well, you look different from those people, so you must think different things. And so there's a controversy here that didn't exist before. And when they play into that, they're able to stir up this controversy. People watch, and it creates problems. But when you really look at what's going on in the world, when you walk outside and you say hello to your neighbor, you're just saying hello to your neighbor. That's the depth of that conversation. There's nothing more controversial than that, and so that's not going to make the news.
Believe it or not, and if you watch, say, for example, CNN or NBC or any of those left-leaners, as I call them, I know you'll find this hard to believe, but I don't think nobody I know has had a fight with a black person in the last 60 to 90 days.
I don't know anybody either.
And yet, if you watch NBC or CNN or ABC,
right,
we're on the verge of another civil war.
Right. But only if we let people not obey the law. The people on either side, by the way, alt-right, alt-left, if you let them get away with not following the law, there's a difference between freedom of speech and violence.
You do realize that in the eyes of the left-leaning media, this makes you a Nazi sympathizer. You do understand that.
I understand that, but in the eyes of the Declaration, this makes me a human.
You know who I got a follow from, and I did some research, and they don't have a page.
Oh.
And it freaked me out.
Who?
I got a Facebook notification this weekend. You are now being followed by Shreveport Antifa.
Really?
Oh, wow.
And I thought, I didn't even know there was a Shreveport Antifa.
How do you know they're following me? I don't see anybody back there.
So I went to the search line on Facebook.
Talking about Facebook.
Oh, on Facebook. I get it now. Okay.
I went in, but I do want you to start in my car and taste my food. So I went on the search line and put in Antifa Shreveport.
Yeah.
Nothing. Shreveport Antifa. Nothing. Now, there is a Louisiana Antifa.
Right.
But no Shreveport. But I'm wondering, well, who's
following you?
I don't know.
We're always behind.
Pardon my paranoia.
Yeah.
But back to the show.
Yeah.
How do you plan to, do I want to say, bridge the gap? Pardon me, allergies. How do you bridge the gap between the perception of many Americans of this country and the reality and the optimism that I know you both share for its future?
Well, I mean, the show is going to highlight that the solutions to our most pressing problems come from the hands of ordinary Americans, just like our listeners. And we'll equip the audience with information and tools needed to make a difference and change the direction of our community and hopefully our very own lives.
You focus on an individual. People listen to radio generally one person at a time, whoever's in the car, right? So we focus on one person at a time. That way you don't get into this group versus that group. It's you. It's your friends. It's your family. It's your neighbors. It's that person that's standing in front of you in line that you haven't met before. You focus on an individual, and then you don't deal with this group versus that group, us versus them, tribal mentalities. It becomes humanist.
You've got to take your life into your own hands. It's one thing to say if the economy is good, fantastic. If banks are loaning money, that's great. People are positive and friendly to you, that's great too. But the major key to making things happen in your life is you.
You just started on something, and I want you both to expound right now. What is it, and you just started off with a great start, what is it that makes America great that that the media, at least since the Trump election or even before, seems to have forgotten?
Well, the greatness of America is that it allows us to see the greatness within ourselves. And when the media distorts that image of who we are, or they lump us into categories, when people feel like giving up because what they see on the news is hopelessness, and they feel like victims, they feel powerless. They see people turning on each other rather than to each other. That is the difference between what made America great 50 years ago and the challenge that we face making America great again today.
Louis Avalone, Stephen Parr. The show is called American Ground. It's on nightly weekdays here on KEEL from 6 till 7. In just about a minute or so, this show is a little bit bigger than just the two of you, too, right?
That's right. We also have Terry Netterville and Denise Arthur. Because,
tell me about those young ladies.
Well, first of all, Louis and I are insanely brilliant, but that doesn't mean we know everything, right? And so it's good to have people who know stuff that we don't know helping us out. And that's what Terry and Denise bring to the show. They just have a different perspective. They've lived different lives. They are different people, and so that gives them a different view on things, and it's good to get that perspective as part of the show.
When we come back from break, I know that you, not only are you once a meteorologist, always a meteorologist.
Like you said last time you introduced me,
like
compare me
being
to
a nun,
old
you can
nuns.
leave the convent, but you're still in your heart clad from head to toe.
Sure.
But you also have a degree in, not what is it?
It's geosciences.
It's a big boy thing. I want to
Right.
talk about Hurricane Harvey.
Okay.
Hurricane Irma, and you and I see eye to eye on this global warming ruse, and so as we get into the heart of the hurricane season, every time winds exceed 40 miles an hour, it's because the Earth is on the verge of atmospheric collapse. And I know you don't agree. 19 past 8 o'clock, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update right now. Here's Ruben.
Keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic on I-49 northbound near Kings Highway. And we're still looking at some backed-up traffic on I-20 westbound near Spring and Market. It's backed up past Airline Drive right now. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
Twenty-two past 8 o'clock, KEEL Sports. Here's Tim.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. College football's big opening weekend ended with a bang on Labor Day night. The Tennessee Volunteers held on to knock off Georgia Tech 42-41 after rallying to even the game, send it to overtime. They held on in the second overtime when they stuffed the Yellow Jackets' two-point conversion. Tough news out of College Station for former Woodlawn Knight Donovan Wilson, who is the thumper in the Aggie secondary. He's going to miss significant time, perhaps the entire season, after undergoing foot surgery. The Aggies also were hit with the news that Nick Starkel, their starting quarterback, is out for the year with a broken ankle. In the big leagues yesterday, the Astros ran their winning streak to 5 games with a 6-2 takedown of Seattle on the road. Alex Bregman had a 2-run tie-breaking double in a 4-run seventh, and Dallas Keuchel, the former Razorback, went 7 2/3 innings, his longest outing since May 5th, to improve to 12-3. The Rangers remain relevant in the wild card race. Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor, and Nomar Mazara all homered. Andrew Kashner, he got the win. They're 5-2 in their last 7 games, 2 out in the wild card. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Twenty-four past 8, 101.7 FM 710 Keel. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, who will be back on Monday. Louis Avalone and Steve Parr from American Ground, heard nightly here on Keel from 6 till 7. Congratulations and good luck. You will be awesome, I have no doubt.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Now, you have a degree in geoscience.
Yes, I do. It's a master's degree from Mississippi State.
And what?
What?
And you spent years as a meteorologist. We were just talking about hurricanes. We talked about Harvey just a little bit, the potential track of now Hurricane Irma. And you literally had said to me what the guy on television on the big network said 30 seconds before he said it.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on what Irma, as it approaches the Caribbean, the Antilles, and the Dominican Republic, and Haiti and Cuba, etc.? What do you see happening over the next 10 days or so?
Right now it's a Cat 5, and it's going to stay a Cat 5, looks like, for at least the next 48 hours. And then as it gets into those lesser Antilles, that's the small islands out at the edge of the Caribbean.
Right.
Barbados, that type of thing. It's going to start hitting those. Those won't slow it down much. Once it gets over to Haiti, Dominican Republic, and Cuba, and I think it's going to go along the northern edge of those islands, those islands have enough mountains in them that it'll disrupt the flow of a storm, even a Cat 5 storm. And so now I think it'll drop down to about a Cat 4. I think the Hurricane Center's right on this with that track.
So you see a lot of different projections. You see some of it making sort of this right turn and heading up the Florida coast, Florida's east coast, the Atlantic side.
Yeah.
But then there's also that say it could make a little leftward lean and head back into the Gulf and build up steam. What do you see? We don't need another hurricane in the Gulf, at least right now, especially something that could rebuild to a Cat 4 or 5.
I don't think it's going to get into the Gulf, at least not very far into it. If it does, it's on its turn already straight up to Florida. My projection is more towards Miami up and then a second landfall into South Carolina. That's the track that I like. Well, I don't like it, but that's one I think that's more correct. But the reason is that the whole purpose of a hurricane, just globally, is to take heat out of the tropic and move it to the poles. That's why hurricanes exist. They want to take an excess of heat around the equator and in the tropics, and they want to move it to the North Pole or the South Pole, depending upon which hemisphere you're in. So they always want to go north.
No.
Yes.
No, I don't mean to disagree, but I'm going to take the liberal lemming point of view here for just a couple of
Sure.
seconds.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't you realize that the purpose of hurricanes is to manifest the growing crisis of global warming and to let us know that today should be the last time you should drive a fossil fuel operated operated vehicle unless you are Barack Obama or Hillary Clinton.
I see. And what did you drive for the last 12 years?
Fossil fuel-driven vehicle.
Okay, and so there hasn't been a major landfalling hurricane since 2005 until Harvey. So 12 years of a gap there. There is absolutely no connection between global warming in a warmer world and an increase of severe weather. Hurricanes, floods, droughts, tornadoes, none of that is correlated. We've actually had record lows in not just in landfall major storms, hurricanes hitting the U.S., but we've also had a record low of tornadoes in the U.S. during these past 12 years. And the U.S. is the world's leader in tornado production. So those things aren't correlated at all.
Excuse me, is the camera on me? Let's look at my liberal lemming stunned face.
Yes.
Holy cow. Aren't you paying attention to Al Gore and his new movie? Haven't you seen that things are worse than ever? Don't you understand that we are on the verge of a total atmospheric collapse? Good Lord, son.
I have not paid attention to Al Gore's new movie, so you got me there. Nobody else has either, if you look at its viewing and its box office totals. However, it's actually been outsold by a book that debunks the movie. But the point is that I think Al Gore's made enough money off of this. They've changed the name. Remember, the name used to be global warming,
then
right?
It was global warming, then it was climate change. Now,
and then they changed it to climate weirding, but that didn't actually catch on.
No.
So,
and then sustainability is another one.
Here's the thing. It has to be the theory. The UN's models theory are that it's global, catastrophic, horrible, man-made. You and I, we did it. And it's warming. It's not cooling. It's not changing. It's warming. If it's not one of those four things, then the UN's Commission on Climate Change is completely pointless. Climate changes. That's what climate does. It's not a bad thing to have climate change. If you want a stationary climate, go to Mercury. That climate's not going to change much.
Or the dark side of the moon.
Right. Okay, so we have an atmosphere. We're a ball that's spinning in space. We've got a combination of liquid and gaseous and solid water. And so all of that means that as we rotate around this big ball in space, nothing's going to stay the same. Climate changes. The problem would be is if it was all warming and a runaway warming, and that part of the theory has been shown to be wrong, not just in how fast it's warmed up, but also in the method of it warming up.
29 past 8 o'clock, 1017 FM, 710 Keel. More with Steve Parr and Louis Avallone in a couple of seconds. Mr. Lewis wrote an op-ed for the Times a couple of weekends ago, and it had to do with the arena, but in a grander sense, more about the attitude that we as Shreveporters have about the place we live. We will discuss coming up next. Right now, traffic update. Here's Ruben, and he's on Keel.
Keeping an eye on some slow-moving traffic on North Market near North Hearn Avenue, and we have some traffic delays on Benton Road just north of Shed Road in Bossier City. If you have any accidents, hazards, or closures to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. We'll have sun this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 today, low 65 tonight. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
The power of information. KEEL News now.
All eyes are on Hurricane Irma as it's been upgraded to a Category 5 hurricane this morning. Forecasters say the storm should move over portions of the Caribbean islands tonight and early tomorrow. They say there are increasing chances that the impacts to the U.S. will be in Florida, and it may steer clear of Louisiana due to a cold front moving into our area. Experts say it's still too early to tell what exactly Irma will do to the U.S. Zachary Decker has been arrested by Bossier police in connection with the shooting death of Juan Reyes. Reyes was found by his roommate with a fatal gunshot wound to his chest early Sunday morning at their residence on Montgomery Street. According to police, they believe Decker allegedly shot Reyes over some sort of drug dispute. If convicted, Decker could face life in prison. Shreveport's mayor comments on the proposed sports complex. Matt Parker has that story.
Before the city of Shreveport can build a proposed $150 million plus sports complex on Cross Bayou, the city has a lot of hurdles to clear. They have to acquire land, funding, and possibly conduct an environmental cleanup. This has a lot of people wondering if the project is worth the money or the effort. Shreveport Mayor Ollie Tyler sat down with KTBS and said that sometimes Shreveport residents don't believe they can make great things happen. She went on to say it's her goal to make our city a great place to live, and if we don't grow and expand, we'll never be able to fund priorities like police and roads. From 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Matt Parker.
Minden police are investigating the death of Tyrone Sumlin. Reports say Sumlin was found dead by his girlfriend outside of his vehicle on Quarles Street in Minden. Police report that he suffered a fatal wound to the back of his head, and at this time they're unsure if Sumlin was shot or suffered a blunt force trauma. So far, no arrests have been made in the case. Louisiana has the 5th highest obesity rate in the country, according to a new report from Trust for America's Health. President and CEO John Auerbach says that it doesn't come as a big surprise because the Bayou State is more or less where it's been for the last few years in terms of obesity rate.
The obesity rate in the state is 35.5% of the adult population, and last year it was approximately the same level.
Louisiana is one of just 5 states with an obesity rate over 35%. Based on the latest data from the Louisiana Workforce Commission, 1.9 million people are holding down a job in the state. That's an increase of 12,000 from this time last year. The State Workforce Commission says 155,000 people work in construction, which is an all-time high for Louisiana. But LSU economist Dr. Lauren Scott anticipates a lag in employment next year. The New Orleans Saints have placed cornerback Delvin Breaux on injured reserve and brought back offensive tackle Bryce Harris. This all according to Monday's NFL transaction report. The Black and Gold are set to take on the Minnesota Vikings in Monday Night Football action on September 11th. LSU fans are still glowing about the impressive shutout victory over BYU, and today they're slated to hear from head coach Ed Orgeron, who will recap the game during Lunch with Coach O. He'll also preview the Bayou Bengals' upcoming contest against Chattanooga in Death Valley this Saturday night. AccuWeather forecast says partly sunny today, chance of a shower or heavy thunderstorm later this afternoon, highs near 92. For 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, I'm Greg Adams.
Good morning. It's 8:35. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Erin off for the week. She'll be back on Monday. Steve Parr and Louis Avalone from American Ground, heard nightly here on KEEL from 6 till 7. You wrote, Mr. Lewis, an op-ed because the big controversy, look, it hasn't even started to settle down. I'm talking about the news story about building the arena in the Cross Bayou area. And it has been, I say to people, this may be the longest running story that we've had in Shreveport in the last 15 to 20 years. This is an enormous thing. And you wrote an op-ed in the Times a couple of weekends ago. Tell everybody what you wrote about, and then we want to talk about it. Then we will discuss in some detail because I have some questions.
Well, I don't think that any of us, and I think that's why it is such a big story for most Shreveporters, is that they do not have enough information with regards to whether this is a good idea or is a bad idea. For most people, they look at the past, they look at the history, and they say, well, if the past is any indicator of the future, here's how something like this will turn out. And so whenever the mind is confused, the mind says no. But there's something more that's been going on. There's been this bad-mouthing of where we live. And so, it's okay for you not to think that this is a good idea, and I'm not making an opinion on that one way or the other. But there's no reason for you to badmouth yourself to the world and where you live and your community. How you speak to yourself is important. How we as a community speak to ourselves is important. The Bible says this, for as he thinks in his heart, so he is. And so that's the message of that op-ed piece.
What do you think we in Shreveporters think in our heart about where we live?
Well, I think most people aren't proud of Shreveport, very frankly. And the reason for that is that there's an abundance of people who speak badly of Shreveport. What is one of the number one questions that you ask someone who is from somewhere else, whether they be from Illinois or from Michigan or from New York? How did you end up here? That has to stop. That has to stop. The question is, welcome to our community, and let's see how we can make it better.
Louis Avalone, Stephen Parr, the Shreveport Security Systems text line is 318-392-1884. Take a look at that. I want you to I want comments on what Louis said about what our attitude about ourselves is. And when we come back, I've got a couple of questions, too. 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL traffic update coming up right now. Rapid Ruben on KEEL.
The intersection at Hearn Avenue and Ford Street's dealing with some slow-moving traffic right now. And we have some traffic delays on East Texas Street near Traffic Street in Bossier City. If you have anything to report to us, please give us a call at our Planet Fitness traffic hotline. That's 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight, high 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
What? No, you haven't. Speaking of painting with a broad brush, my friend.
Seriously, what's that all about?
It's a Star Wars reference.
101.7 FM, 710 KEEL. Robert J. Wright and Erin McCarty, 841. Louis Avalone and Steve Parr. The show is American Ground. Nightly 5 till 6 on KEEL. What I have a bad feeling about this is
It's a Star Wars reference.
Give me the
like every single movie. All right, Han Solo in Return of the Jedi, and he's in the prison, and he doesn't have his eyesight yet, and there's Chewie. He's like, I got a bad feeling about this. They're going in towards the Death Star in New Hope, and he says, I have a bad feeling about it. They say it in every.
See, I've only seen the first three, which is back in the 70s.
Even in Rogue One, they start to say, I have a bad feeling, and he stops her, and so yeah, it's in like every single one of them. But it's a Star Wars reference, that's all.
All right.
I watched all the Transporter movies this weekend. I was sad and lonely and drinking box wine.
And you didn't have a bad feeling about that?
No, in retrospect, I have to confess my sins. Louis wrote an op-ed a couple of weeks ago in the Times And it caught my attention because you seem to be saying, and I'm going to bust on you here for a couple of seconds. You seem to be saying that Shreveporters think Shreveport sucks. Do you think that's true?
I think there's a sizable amount of our population that believes that. Whether that's the majority or not, of course, I haven't polled everyone, but if you read social media posts, especially surrounding this proposal from the mayor to build this $150 million sports complex, you read all sorts of negative things where people say, who would possibly consider coming to Shreveport and investing $150 million in our community?
Well, see, here's one of the questions I have about that, and you can expound a bit, is that the one question I have about this is that it's what's the name of the company? The Birmingham company.
Corporate Realty?
Corporate Realty, thank you. I went blank for a second. There's a company that wants to come to town and spend $125 or $130 million. This is a company that is not in business to lose money. They have to have done one or two feasibility studies on this market, probably other than the one the mayor presented to them, as that would obviously be, and I don't mean this in a negative way, that would obviously be slightly one-sided. So my question is, and I've asked everybody this, and it's the one thing I can't quite get past, is what does Corporate Realty know? What do they see? What have they found out that we in Shreveport who go, oh man, that place, nothing's going to work here? What do they know that maybe we don't?
Well, I mean, certainly they've done this before. They've looked at our demographics. But again, to the extent that the people feel defeated, to where they feel that we simply can't win as a community, that's probably not a factor that they have incorporated into their business plan.
Okay, so here's the $64,000 question, and based on a statement Matt made a couple of weeks ago. Do you think people in Shreveport, and don't get me wrong, I agree with you. You look on Facebook, you look on social media, you see some crazy stuff, why this won't work. In fact, I think there's a faction of Shreveport people that even if this arena and this shopping area and this residential area were built, they would refuse to go just so they can say, I knew it would never work.
I hope that's not the case, but we need to distinguish here. There are two different schools of thought here, or two different arguments. One is we ought to be investigating this proposal. We ought to be looking at it from every possible angle, and we ought to be scrutinizing it for what is going to happen differently with this plan that has not happened with every other plan.
You freaking Rika, because that's what Matt said.
Okay.
Is it that people in Shreveport are negative on their town, that they think we're snake bit and beat down and whooped? Or is it that they don't, over generations and generations, trust leadership to properly implement whatever plan the city adopts?
Well, that too, but we become what we think about. If we think of ourselves as average, as mediocre, that is what we will be as a community. But again, there are two different thoughts here. One is we ought to scrutinize this proposal, and we ought to ask what is going to be different with this proposal than any other. And then it's very different. Another thought here is that's very different than going on social media and saying, get out now, folks. It's not going to get any better in Shreveport.
How do we determine, a rhetorical question, obviously, how do we determine what will be different about this proposal than, say, the Red River District, or the fact we passed a $5 million bond in 1996 to develop the same area they're going to develop now, or any of the other plans that seem to have gone off the rails at some point?
Well, you probably need more than 3 or 4 weeks in order to evaluate that proposal. It can't be hurry up, let's make a decision. Now, sometimes in life, you've got to jump and learn to fly on the way down. We get that.
Do you think at some level what this thing is doing is, in the short term, despite how vitriolic and negative some of the comments are, it is in fact making people pay attention, and it is in fact creating a lot of pretty good citizens all of a sudden?
Yeah, I think certainly the response to the column that I wrote has been very positive. But again, it's from people who don't want to think of themselves as mediocre or average or settling to live in a community that thinks it stinks.
The show is American Ground, and it's on weeknights on KEEL from 6 till 7. Tell me about this evening's show and wrapping up.
Well, it's our first big kickoff. You'll hear more from Terry Netterville and Denise Austin. These are our mamas that are helping out with the show and giving us a different perspective.
Wait, they're not our mamas.
They're not our mamas. They're on the show. We call them.
Clarify.
We call them the mamas. And by the way, hashtag Go Mamas is already started up after just last night's show.
Seriously?
Yeah. Hashtag Go Mamas.
Wow.
How about that?
They're good.
So that's pretty good. So we're going to be hearing from them and taking a look at the day's news. Going to take a look at a different perspective, and we're going to take the day's news and we're going to put it into a very personal perspective. How does this relate to you? How does your challenge of trying to be the best you can be affected by what's going on in the top three?
And
picks?
just to top it off, the website is conservativeground.org, and it is really, really, really good.
Thank you very much.
So congratulations in advance of your success. Thank you for joining us, and maybe we can trick you into coming back one day later this week.
We now know where you are. So
849, 1017 FM, 710 KEEL traffic update coming up right now. Here's Ruben.
Looking right now at some slow-moving traffic on Uri Drive and East Kings Highway due to construction. And we have some traffic delays on West Burnt-Coons Industrial Loop and Linwood Avenue. If you have anything to report to us, accidents, hazards, or closures, give us a call at our Planet Fitness Traffic Hotline, 687-ROAD.
Your AccuWeather.com forecast. Sunshine this morning, variable clouds, and a couple of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon into tonight. High 92 and low 65. With your AccuWeather.com forecast, I'm Heather Zayer.
1017 FM and 710 KEEL. You'll hear all the news our city is talking about. If you think about changing the dial, we'll slap your hand. Breaking news and trending talk. 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. KEELnews.com.
It is 8 away from 9 o'clock, 1017 FM and 710 KEEL. Sports time.
Good morning from the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger. This is Tim Fletcher. College football's big opening weekend ended with a bang on Labor Day night. The Tennessee Volunteers held on to knock off Georgia Tech 42-41 after rallying to even the game, send it to overtime. They held on in the second overtime when they stuffed the Yellow Jackets' two-point conversion. Tough news out of College Station for former Woodlawn Knight Donovan Wilson, who is the thumper in the Aggie secondary. He's going to miss significant time, perhaps the entire season, after undergoing foot surgery. The Aggies also were hit with the news that Nick Starkel, their starting quarterback, is out for the year with a broken ankle. In the big leagues yesterday, the Astros ran their winning streak to 5 games with a 6-2 takedown of Seattle on the road. Alex Bregman had a 2-run tie-breaking double in a 4-run seventh, and Dallas Keuchel, the former Razorback, went 7 2/3 innings, his longest outing since May 5th, to improve to 12-3. The Rangers remain relevant in the wild card race. Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor, and Nomar Mazara all homered. Andrew Kashner, he got the win. They're 5-2 in their last 7 games, 2 out in the wild card. From the sports desk of 1130 The Tiger, this is Tim Fletcher.
Robert J. Wright here to tell you guys about Twin City Appliance, online at twincityappliance.com. If Erin were here, she would be making broken appliance noises. What I'm going to do is stop, and just for one moment, we're going to appreciate the silence, because after Twin City Appliance comes to your home and repairs whatever major appliance at your domicile is on the fritz, be it washers, dryers, refrigerators, ice makers, ranges, cooktops, microwaves, etc., they will be making, let us all appreciate in Erin's absence, the silence of not only Erin's not being here, but of a well-operating, well-oiled, if it still uses oil, I speak figuratively, of course, appliance. Not bad, huh? Twin City Appliance. Call 318-688-0253. Find out more. They can fix it. TwinCityAppliance.com. .855, 1017 FM 710 KEEL. I just saw a commercial a little while ago. I don't know what it was on. And it was Kaylee Cuoco from The Big Bang Theory. And I don't know what commercial it was, but her hair was just a mess. And Greg said, well, that's kind of her look, and which is okay. Mm-hmm. But I'm thinking, now that show is in syndication, if you're making like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 million bucks a year without getting out of bed, hire a stylist.
Well, that's just the style for women these days. It's this weird, like, girl next door, my hair's a mess, and I don't do a dye job because I'm busy doing other stuff.
I want
it's
the
weird.
Jackie Kennedy, bring back that early to mid-'60s tall beehive bouffant thing. That is awesome.
That's an atrocity, too.
Back tomorrow morning, 6 till 9, 1017 FM 710 KEEL. Here comes Kim Commando.
If you're renting your property through Airbnb, you need to know about the renter sublease scam. Kim Commando with your Tuesday Tech Update. In a growing number of cities, New York, San Diego, and Miami, to name a few, very strict laws now regulate the kind of short-term rentals through sites like VRBO and Airbnb. A Miami Beach homeowner found out the hard way. After receiving fines from the city, the first one was $20,000. He discovered that his long-term tenants had illegally subleased his property through Airbnb. They advertised that his 2-bedroom home could sleep 12 people. Naturally, the place was trashed, which triggered the fines. The homeowner promptly asked Airbnb to remove the listing, but CNBC reports that he was sent down a customer service rabbit hole. Airbnb did nothing for 11 days. All the while, the fines kept coming. $500,000 in all, plus thousands in legal fees. Homeowners, beware. Get all the tech news updated all the time at news.komando.com. That's KOMANDO.
It's that time of year again. Yeah, you know, back to school. And if you have kids, I bet you've already printed out their school supply list. And how did it print? Are you running low on ink? Well, instead of buying another ink cartridge, add the Epson EcoTank 4550 wireless all-in-one printer to your school supply list. This awesome printer has a cartridge-free printing. This printer comes with enough ink right in the box to print up to 2 years, or get this, 8,500 pages without having to buy new ink. Think of how many school projects and supply lists you can print. We use the Epson EcoTank here at my show. Seriously,